Good afternoon, dear students. I welcome you all for this second lecture of the course Fundamental of Systematics for class MSc second semester 3. So today our topic of discussion is History of Taxonomy. In this topic we are going to study the different contributions over the period of time by different taxonomists for the growth of this science called as taxonomy. So lecture 2, History of Taxonomy. So as we see, if we see the history of taxonomy, it is said to be as old as human civilization. So it is a very old science. Even the old native of the tribals, they have tried to identify different animals around them and they have tried to name them by different systems. If we take an example, the native tribes of Papua New Guinea, they have identified around 138 birds and they have given 137 names. So there is ambiguity with one name only, that it is similar, and they have even given a binomial nomenclature system. So they have followed the binomial nomenclature system. Okay, now always in our earlier years we have seen that the contribution to the taxonomy is mostly by the Greek scholars, but it is not so. Even this science has been contributed by the ancient Indian civilization. So earlier record of animal and plant classification has been found from the Vedic period, that is 3100 BC to 2500 BC in India, and there is a record of identification and naming of both plants and animals. However, this information was in Sanskrit language, so it could not spread to the other parts of the world, and it was limited only to the southern Eastern Asia. Even the earliest record of animal classification could be contributed to the earlier Indian scholars like Charak and Prastapad in the 600 BC, and this classification was very broad and very fundamental in nature. Now if we come to the history of taxonomy, which is quoted by the Greek scholars, so this all history could be classified into the 4 periods. So Ernst Mayr, the pioneer of the today's new systematics, has classified this into the 4 periods, that is first period, second, third and fourth period. So this is basically the classification is according to the historical period. Now if we see the first period, it is also referred to as a study of local fauna. So the major contribution to this has been done by the Greek scholars, and earlier Greek scholars like Hippocrates and Democritus have done most of the taxonomic studies onto the animals, but these were very basic in nature. However, the major pioneering work in the field of animal taxonomy is contributed to Aristotle, 384 to 322 BC. So he is also referred to as father of biological classification, as well as he is referred to as father of zoology. So he referred all the animal into 4 major groups, that is bird, fishes, whales and insects, and he basically provided the framework for the today's classification system. So a major contributor in the field of taxonomy and systematics. So whatever classification system he followed were very basic. So according to him, animals were classified as 2 simple groups, as blooded animal, that is having blood, and second group bloodless animals. Further he classified them based on presence of 2 legs or 4 legs. We'll see that again. all the insects were like classified, and some terminologies which he coined, like Diptera, Coleoptera, are still in use even in the today's systematics. So here we can see animals. He very rawly classified them into blooded animal, that is having blood, and the bloodless animals. The blooded animals were further classified into two-footed animals or four-footed animals. Further, based on some characteristics, they could be classified further. So Aristotle classification system was very raw. So like plants were classified into herbs, shrubs and trees. Then animals were classified maybe according to their habitat into three categories, like land animals, water animals or air animals. So even he classified insects based on their mouth parts into two categories, that is mandibulate type and haustellate type, or based on their presence of the wings or absence, he classified them into winged insects or wingless insects. So whatever work which was contributed by Aristotle had a major influence on the taxonomists who were working around that time. So many taxonomists like Geisner, Aldovandi and Bellon, they were influenced by this Aristotle's system of taxonomy, and in their writing you could see the influence of the Aristotle taxonomy. Now if we compare the taxonomy as such, so botanists were far ahead than the zoologists during this period, and this Aristotelian concept of classification remained up to 2000 years. So up to a very long period we can see the influence of the Aristotle's taxonomical concepts. After that, in 16th century, Brunfels and Bohins made changes to the Aristotelian concept. Now the next major contribution to the field of systematics come from John Ray. He was basically an English naturalist, and all of his major work he published in a book, Historia Plantarum. So he made drastic changes to whatever classification system which was proposed by Aristotle. Then followed by Ray, Willingby and Reaumur have classified birds and insects in more advanced way, because as we saw, whatever system followed by Aristotle was very basic. So many more characters were taken into consideration by these scientists. Now if we see the next century, in 18th century, Buffon and Linnaeus were the two major contributors to the animal classification, and from them Linnaeus' contribution remains the most important. So we come to the contribution by Linnaeus. So Linnaeus, Carolus Linnaeus, was a naturalist. So he worked in the field of taxonomy, and his contribution is so immense that he is referred to as father of taxonomy. He postulated what is called as downward classification, we'll see in the latter part, and he proposed a nomenclature system that is called as binomial nomenclature system. All his work has been documented, or he has published in the form of a book known as Systema Naturae, which was published in the year 1758. So the major contribution of Linnaeus, that he proposed a two kingdom system of classification. So all the life has been divided into two kingdoms, that is Animalia and Plantae. However, this system had some lacunae, that is there was no distinction between prokaryotes and eukaryotes, as well as there is no distinction between unicellular or multicellular organism or photosynthetic and non-photosynthetic organisms. It was very raw system of classification. However, this system of classification was into the use up to quite recently, and in the middle 18th century, Linnaean system of downward classification was replaced by another system that is known as upward classification. So this was done by the new era zoologists like Buffon, Lamarck, Darwin, Cuvier and other post-Linnaean zoologists. So Carolus Linnaeus, he has classified all the animals into 6 classes. These classes were known as Mammalia, including mammals, aves, including birds, Amphibia, including all amphibians, class Pisces, including fishes, class Insecta, including all insects, and 6th class was Vermis, so that includes all the worms. So if we compare these two classification system, that is of Aristotle and Linnaeus, we could see that Aristotle categories were quite very general, whereas Linnaeus categories were more specific. We see Aristotle, the new organisms were discovered. Scientists were unable to classify organism under these categories because since new organisms were added to the present knowledge, there was no such system available as per the Aristotelian system of classification. However, Linnaeus system was more flexible. That's why it was into the use still today. Okay, now we move to the next part now. So in previous slides we come across these words, downward classification and upward classification. So we'll study each one of them. So first we look at the downward classification. So it was this downward classification system was proposed by Carolus Linnaeus, and this taxonomy, which was based on local fauna, that was in the first period, has reached to its peak somewhere in the 18th century. So what is this downward classification? So actually downward classification means from higher taxon we go to the lower taxon. So it is basically based on the principle of logical division, which consists of dividing larger groups by dichotomy into smaller groups. So what is this means? We'll see in the by an example. So for examples, animals are divided into 2 groups, say those having blood and other group without blood. Animals with blood are further divided into 2-footed animals or 4-footed animals. So same examples we have already studied. And if this 2-footed animal have some another character, say having fur or without fur, this can be further classification can be done. This type of classification was referred to as downward classification. So this type of classification system is also referred to as an artificial system, where one is classifying organism based on certain characters into 2 groups. Further, those 2 groups were classified depending on the presence or absence of another characters, and this goes on from higher taxon to the lower taxon. So this downward classification system was proposed by Linnaeus in the 15th edition of his book Systema Naturae, and he was the first who proposed the binomial nomenclature system for entire animal kingdom, which was earlier not followed. And Linnaeus was a firm believer on fixity of species. So what is meant by fixity of species? That means animals do not change over the period of time. So until his time, the concept of evolution was not developed. So he was a believer that animals have the characters similar over the period of time. There does not occur any change. But in the middle 18th century, the shortcomings of this previous downward classification system were recognized. So this system was being replaced by another system of classification called as upward classification. So this upward classification was first employed by the botanist in 1873, and later on it was used by the zoologist as well. So this upward classification is exactly opposite of the downward classification. So in downward classification we saw that from higher taxon we are going to the lower taxon. here we are going from lower taxon to the higher taxon. So for example, we are going from species level to the domain level or the kingdom level. So this shift from downward classification to the upward classification, it was a major philosophical change in the system of taxonomy, and it had a wide implications onto the science of taxonomy. So here we can see one example. Say these two species share some characteristics, then such two species could be grouped together into genus 1. Similarly, if these two genus, that is genus 1 and 2, share some similar characteristics, they could be grouped into a same family, and so on, so forth. Now we come to the second period of taxonomy, that is called as acceptance of evolution. So when evolution was discovered by Darwin, so we know that he had gone on to his famous voyage of Beagle onto the Galapagos Islands, and where he could observe the different fossil records, and based on which he published a book on evolution, that is Origin of Life. So basically Darwin was a firm believer of fixity of species. That means species do not change over the period of time. But after his observations onto the Galapagos Islands, he became a firm believer of plasticity of species. It is exactly opposite. That means species could change over a period of time due to the process of evolution. Also, this second period was largely influenced by the empirical taxonomists working in this area, as well as Ernst Haeckel, who has proposed the phylogenetic tree. It also stimulated the work which was done by these empirical taxonomists. Large number of new species were added into the available knowledge. So this also influenced this period of taxonomy. And not only new species and genera were discovered, but also new families or even new orders were discovered in this period. So we could say taxonomy reached to a grand climax during the middle of this 19th century. We move on to the third period, that is called as population systematics. So here it is more dependent upon the study of populations. Whatever earlier taxonomy up to the second period was done onto some specimens, few specimens. But however, in 1930, the post-Linnaean scientists, they understood that the taxonomy could not be done based on the observation of few specimens, but it should be done onto the population. Because until this time, there was no knowledge about the subspecies level. So Ernst Mayr, in 1942, he considered species as a interbreeding natural population, and there was a evolution of idea that is known as polytypic species. So what is meant by polytypic species? A single species which may have multiple subspecies. So in this third period of taxonomy, species were no longer considered as fixed and uniform, but they were considered as polytypic. That means having many subspecies and local populations, and each of these populations may differ from one another significantly. Okay, another important historical contribution of this time was Mendelian rules were rediscovered. So there was the knowledge of genetics being applied to the taxonomy. So new terms like new systematics and biosystematics were added to the extend the available knowledge of the taxonomic theory. there was publication of a book, New Systematics, which was another landmark in the history of taxonomy. And now the taxonomy science got a new label that is called as biological taxonomy. By 1955, taxonomy reached to a status that it was called as a taxonomic explosion, because many new scientists being added their knowledge to the available knowledge, and it became quite an elaborative knowledge base. Now next period, that is last period, that is fourth period, which is also referred to as current trends. So it deals with the new systematics. So new systematics is not only based on the morphological characters, but it is also done based on the other characteristics like phylogenetics, adaptations, embryological patterns, biochemical variations, genetic variabilities and similarities, behavioral characteristics. So all these are taken into consideration while classifying the organism. So the science of taxonomy become more diverse, including the taking the knowledge from all other branches of the science, and more effective classification systems were developed in this fourth period of taxonomy. And finally, now we are in the age of what is called as new systematics. So this knowledge of taxonomy could not remain stagnant, but there is a continuous refinement which is being taking place over the period of time. So current taxonomy, which is being referred as new systematics by Huxley in the year 1940. So systematics, it is basically a modern approach which encompasses geographical, ecological, cytological, physiological and population genetics. So it takes the information from all these branches, and it is being used for the taxonomy and systematics. So morphological species, which was dominant in the previous three periods of taxonomy, was being replaced by the biological definition. The major aim of the scientist or taxonomist of the recent era is to identify newer animals, because still a lot of information is not available of many groups, as well as refinement of the techniques of taxonomy. So describing new species and construction of new keys for the identification of newer species are the core areas which are being looked at into the new systematics. Okay, now we quickly summarize today's topic. So we looked at the history of taxonomy. We looked at how it has developed as human has evolved. We looked at the classification in Indian subcontinent. So there is also a great contribution by the Indian taxonomist. However, this knowledge was in Sanskrit language, so it could not go into the Western countries. Then we looked at the history of taxonomy. Ernst Mayr has classified into 4 periods. We looked at the first period, which was mostly the major knowledge was contributed by Aristotle. Here, the system of classification used by Aristotle was very basic and raw. However, some terminologies used by him are still in use today. So the simple system of classification. Then we looked at how this was further modified by Ray and other contemporary of that era. Then we looked at the major contribution which was by Carolus Linnaeus, also known as father of modern taxonomy. He proposed a system of classification which is also known as downward classification. He also proposed binomial nomenclature. Then we looked at the classification of animal kingdom done by him into 6 classes. Then we looked at compare the 2 classification system, that is Aristotelian and Linnaeus system of classification. Then we understood the difference between downward classification and upward classification. So downward classification means from higher taxon to the lower taxon, and upward classification is exactly opposite, from lower taxon to. Then we looked at second period, where the concept of evolution was introduced by Darwin and his contemporary taxonomist. In third period, it was basically major importance was given to the population rather than the samples. So the concept of polytypic concept was introduced in the third period. So polytypic means the species having multiple subspecies. So in this third period, new terms like new systematic and biosystematics were just introduced. And in fourth period, along with the morphological characters, many other characters like phylogenetic, embryological, etc. were taken into consideration. And finally, we are into the era that is known as new systematics, which encompasses different branches like geographical, ecological, cytological and physiological, as well as population genetics. New systematics basically deals with morphological species concept being replaced by biological species definition, and the new era taxonomists basically work to identify the new animal species as well as construction of the different keys for the identification of different organisms. So with this, we conclude today's second lecture on history of taxonomy. Thank you all for your patience hearing.